Have you ever noticed how a woman's hug can feel like a message you're meant to understand, yet no one ever taught you the language? One moment, her arms hold you with warmth and closeness, and the next, the same gesture feels distant, almost unfamiliar. That contrast is not accidental. A woman never hugs without meaning. There is always an emotion beneath it, a signal carried through touch rather than words. Most men search for verbal clarity. They wait for explanations, confessions, or reassurance spoken out loud. But women often communicate differently. They express what they feel through energy, closeness, tension, softness, and intention. And the hug, simple, everyday, and often overlooked, is where the truth quietly reveals itself. A hug can tell you what her words avoid, what her eyes hesitate to show, and what her messages carefully conceal. When a woman wraps her arms around you, she is responding to something deeper than the moment itself. She is sensing your presence, your emotional availability, your confidence, and your calm. This process is rarely conscious. It is instinctive, shaped by emotion and experience rather than logic. You may think she is simply offering affection, but she is also feeling how safe, grounded, and connected she feels in your presence. A hug is not just physical contact. It is communication without language. And if you learn to understand it, you stop guessing where you stand and begin to see the truth clearly, without her ever having to say a word. To understand the meaning behind a woman's hug, you first have to understand how women process and express emotion. For many women, feelings are experienced internally long before they are ever spoken. Words often come later, after emotions have already been felt, evaluated, and sometimes even protected. Touch, on the other hand, is immediate. It bypasses logic and goes straight to instinct. Women are highly attuned to emotional and energetic cues. They notice shifts in tone, posture, closeness, and warmth without consciously trying to. Touch becomes a natural extension of this awareness. A hug allows her to express comfort, trust, curiosity, or distance without exposing herself verbally. It is safer than words because it can always be dismissed as just a hug, even when it carries much more meaning beneath the surface. Psychologically, touch activates feelings of safety and connection far faster than conversation ever could. It creates a moment where defenses lower and emotional truth surfaces. This is why women often rely on physical closeness to communicate how they feel before they are ready to talk about it. A hug becomes a testing ground, a quiet space where emotions can be felt without commitment or explanation. This does not mean women avoid honesty. It means their honesty often begins in the body, not the mouth. If you pay attention to her touch, you are listening to her emotional language in its most natural form, unfiltered, instinctive, and revealing long before words catch up. When a woman hugs you, she is not just embracing your body, she is responding to your emotional state. In those few seconds of closeness, she is subconsciously sensing things you may not even realize you are projecting. This is what makes a hug such a powerful moment of evaluation. It is an emotional scan, not a physical habit. She feels whether you are truly present or mentally elsewhere. If your body is there but your attention is distracted, she notices. If you are calm, grounded, and emotionally available, she feels that too. Confidence is not something you say in this moment. It is something your body communicates through stillness and ease. The same is true for uncertainty or tension. These signals travel instantly through touch. Warmth also matters. Emotional warmth is different from physical temperature. It is the sense that you are open, receptive, and comfortable with closeness. A woman responds strongly to this because it signals emotional safety. At the same time, she senses emotional distance just as clearly. Even subtle stiffness or hesitation can register as a lack of connection. None of this is calculated on her part. She is not analyzing you point by point. Her nervous system is simply responding. In a brief embrace, she gathers information about how she feels with you, not what she thinks about you. That distinction is critical. Feelings form faster and last longer than thoughts. This is why a hug can quietly change the direction of a relationship. In your arms, she discovers whether being close to you feels grounding or draining, safe or uncertain. And that feeling stays with her long after the hug ends. A lingering hug is never accidental. When a woman holds on just a little longer than necessary, she is expressing something she may not yet be ready to say. Time becomes the message. In that extra pause, she is allowing herself to remain emotionally open in your presence. This type of hug often signals safety. She feels calm with you, grounded and unguarded. The world slows down for a moment, and she chooses not to rush away from that feeling. A lingering hug can also reflect emotional closeness. It suggests she values the connection and wants to stay inside it, even briefly. There is also a quiet desire for reassurance in these moments. Not reassurance through words, but through presence. She wants to feel that you are steady, attentive, and emotionally available. That extended embrace becomes a space where she can rest emotionally without needing to explain herself. It is important to notice the quality of the pause, not just its length. If her body relaxes into yours and the hug feels natural, it reflects comfort and trust. This is very different from a forced or awkward delay. A genuine, lingering hug feels unhurried and mutual. In essence, when a woman lingers, she is saying, "This feels right." She is allowing herself to stay connected, testing how it feels to remain close, and quietly hoping that you understand the meaning of the moment without needing it spelled out. Not every hug carries warmth and closeness. Sometimes a hug feels quick, light, or carefully controlled. When this happens, it is often a reflection of emotional distance rather than a lack of manners. A rushed or overly polite hug usually signals that a woman is protecting her emotional space. This type of hug tends to feel brief and minimal. There is little relaxation in her body, and the contact ends as soon as it begins. She may still be friendly, kind, and conversational afterward, but the emotional openness is reduced. This is how women often create distance without confrontation. Emotional withdrawal rarely happens suddenly. It shows up first in small changes like these. A hug that once felt warm may now feel lighter or less engaged. She is not necessarily rejecting you. She may simply be uncertain, cautious, or internally conflicted. Rather than expressing this verbally, her body communicates it quietly. Many men sense this change but struggle to explain it. They feel that something is different, yet no clear reason is given. That is because the shift occurs emotionally before it is ever acknowledged in words. A rushed hug is one of the earliest signs of that shift. Understanding this signal allows you to respond with awareness instead of confusion. Emotional distance does not demand pressure or questioning. It calls for patience, presence, and the ability to recognize when a woman is quietly pulling back to protect her heart. The amount of pressure in a hug reveals more than most men realize. When a woman holds you with noticeable firmness or gives a gentle squeeze, she is expressing vulnerability in one of its purest forms. This is not something she offers casually or to just anyone. It is a sign of trust and emotional openness. A tighter hug often appears when she feels safe enough to let her guard down. In that moment, she is allowing herself to be emotionally seen, even if only briefly. The squeeze is not about physical strength, it is about emotional closeness. It signals a desire to connect more deeply without the risk of saying too much out loud. This kind of hug often comes during moments of emotional significance, after a meaningful conversation, during stress, or when she needs reassurance. It is her way of seeking grounding and comfort. Through that pressure, she is asking, without words, whether you can hold space for her emotions. What matters most is how you respond. Meeting her squeeze with calm presence rather than tension reinforces safety. Pulling away too quickly or becoming distracted can break the emotional moment. A woman remembers how she felt during these brief exchanges. A hug with pressure is a quiet confession. It says, "I trust you here." How you receive it influences how open she allows herself to be in the future. A woman's body position during a hug communicates just as much as the hug itself. Alignment matters. When she presses her body fully into yours, it often signals emotional alignment as well. Her body is unconsciously mirroring a sense of comfort, trust, and openness. A full balanced hug suggests she feels safe enough to be close without hesitation. There is no pulling away, no angled posture, no sense of guarding. Her body settles naturally, indicating that being near you feels stable and reassuring. This kind of alignment reflects emotional ease rather than urgency. In contrast, a partial or angled hug usually carries caution. If her upper body leans away or only her arms engage, she may be maintaining emotional boundaries. This does not necessarily mean disinterest. It often reflects uncertainty, self-protection, or the need for more emotional clarity before fully opening up. Another important cue is whether she relaxes or remains tense. Relaxation indicates trust and emotional comfort. Tension suggests hesitation or emotional alertness. These signals happen instinctively, without conscious thought. Body position is rarely intentional, which is why it is so revealing. A woman's posture in a hug shows how aligned she feels with you emotionally in that moment. By noticing this, you gain insight into where she stands, without forcing conversation or interpretation beyond what her body naturally expresses. Hand placement during a hug is one of the most revealing, yet overlooked signals of emotional intent. While most men focus on the embrace as a whole, women often express subtle distinctions through where and how they place their hands. When her hands rest lightly on your shoulders or upper arms, the signal is usually comfort and familiarity. This placement suggests ease and friendliness, often associated with emotional safety but not necessarily deeper intimacy. It communicates, "I'm comfortable here," without opening the door fully. When her hands move lower on your back or draw closer toward your waist, the emotional message changes. This positioning often reflects a deeper level of trust and emotional openness. She is allowing herself to be more present in the moment, expressing connection without words. The grip may be gentle, but the intention behind it is significant. Movement also matters. Still hands can indicate emotional control or caution. Slow, natural movement suggests comfort and engagement. These micro details are rarely planned. They emerge instinctively, which makes them honest. A woman's hands often express what she cannot say yet. Through placement and pressure, she communicates interest, curiosity, or emotional closeness in a way that feels safe to her. If you learn to notice these quiet signals, you begin to understand her emotional language on a deeper, more intuitive level. One of the most subtle signals in a hug is what happens as it ends. Many women instinctively create a brief pause or slight pullback, not to withdraw completely, but to observe how you respond. This moment functions as a quiet emotional test. She is not looking for intensity or force. She is watching for awareness. Do you remain calm and present, or do you become awkward, rushed, or emotionally reactive? Your response tells her how grounded you are emotionally and how comfortable you are with closeness. If you hold on too tightly or resist the natural end of the hug, it can signal insecurity or emotional pressure. If you pull away too quickly, it may communicate detachment or lack of interest. The balance lies in meeting her energy without trying to control the moment. This test is not conscious manipulation. It is instinctive. She is gathering information about your emotional intelligence, your ability to sense, adapt, and respond appropriately. Women are highly attuned to these micro-reactions because they reveal far more than words ever could. How you handle this brief transition shapes how safe she feels with you emotionally. A calm, respectful response reinforces trust. Over time, these small moments accumulate, quietly influencing how open she becomes. Passing this test is less about doing something and more about being present, steady, and emotionally aware. The hug does not truly end when the arms separate. What follows often carries more emotional information than the embrace itself. This is the emotional echo, the subtle shift in energy, behavior, and presence that reveals how the moment affected her. Pay attention to what she does immediately afterward. If she maintains eye contact, stays close, or smiles naturally, it usually indicates emotional resonance. Your presence has grounded her, and she feels comfortable remaining connected. If she steps back quickly, avoids eye contact, or becomes distracted, it may signal uncertainty or self-protection. Voice tone can also change after a hug. It may soften, slow down, or become quieter, reflecting emotional comfort. A sharper or more controlled tone can suggest that she is reestablishing boundaries. These shifts are often small, but they are meaningful. Women may also display unconscious gestures after a hug, such as adjusting their hair, touching their face, or taking a deeper breath. These movements are emotional processing cues. She is responding to how the hug made her feel, not what she plans to say next. Most men focus only on the physical contact itself and miss this crucial phase. The emotional echo reveals whether the hug strengthened connection or created hesitation. By noticing these moments, you gain a clearer understanding of her internal response without needing words or explanations. Not all hugs are created equal. The timing and context surrounding a hug play a crucial role in determining what it truly means. A woman instinctively chooses how and when to hug based on the emotional moment, not habit or routine. A hug that follows shared laughter often feels light and warm. It reinforces connection and enjoyment, signaling comfort and mutual ease. In contrast, a hug during a serious or emotional conversation carries more weight. In those moments, it serves as emotional grounding, reassurance, or support. The intention behind it is deeper, even if the gesture looks the same on the surface. Context also includes what has been happening between you. After distance, silence, or tension, a hug becomes a test of emotional repair. She is sensing whether closeness feels natural again or strained. After vulnerability, a hug becomes a form of emotional sealing, a way to acknowledge trust without overexposing herself. Women rarely hug without emotional awareness. Even casual hugs are influenced by what she is feeling internally at that moment. She adjusts the intensity, duration, and closeness instinctively. Understanding timing helps you avoid misinterpretation. Instead of asking what the hug meant in isolation, consider what led up to it. The meaning is often found not just in the embrace, but in the emotional moment it responds to. Most men miss the meaning behind a woman's hug because they are trained to look for clarity through words. They listen for statements, labels, and direct explanations, believing that feelings must be spoken to be real. As a result, they overlook the quiet language that women use instinctively. Another reason is overthinking. Instead of staying present, many men analyze the moment while it is happening. This mental noise pulls them out of the experience, making them less aware of subtle emotional cues. Presence is replaced by performance, and the signals are missed. Men are also often taught to dismiss sensitivity as unimportant. Noticing shifts in energy, posture, or emotional tone can feel unfamiliar or uncomfortable. Yet these are the very cues women rely on when evaluating emotional safety and connection. Finally, impatience plays a role. Many men want immediate certainty. They want to know exactly where they stand. But emotional understanding develops gradually through awareness and observation rather than interrogation. Missing these signals does not mean failure. It means there is an opportunity to learn a different form of communication. Once a man learns to observe rather than chase explanations, clarity begins to appear naturally, without pressure or confusion. The most important lesson hidden inside every hug is simple. Presence matters more than performance. A woman is not evaluating how impressive you are or whether you respond perfectly. She is feeling whether you are genuinely there with her in the moment. Emotional presence means being calm, attentive, and grounded. It means allowing closeness without rushing it or trying to control it. When you are present, your body naturally communicates confidence and emotional stability. This creates a sense of safety that cannot be faked through words or gestures. Performance, on the other hand, pulls you out of the moment. Trying to do the right thing often creates tension. A woman can feel that strain immediately. She responds not to effort, but to ease, not to intensity, but to emotional balance. When you choose presence, you allow the interaction to unfold naturally. You notice her cues without overreacting. You meet her energy instead of chasing reassurance. This is what builds trust over time. A hug becomes meaningful not because of what you do, but because of how you show up emotionally. Presence signals maturity, confidence, and emotional intelligence, the qualities that make a woman feel safe enough to open up more deeply without being asked. A woman's hug is never just a casual gesture. It is a quiet conversation made of emotion, instinct, and trust. Long before words appear, her body communicates how she feels, how safe she is, and how open she allows herself to be. When you learn to notice these signals, confusion begins to fade and clarity takes its place. Understanding a hug is not about control or manipulation. It is about awareness. It is about learning to listen to what is being expressed without sound. Every embrace carries information about connection, distance, comfort, or hesitation. The man who notices these details does not need constant reassurance. He understands where he stands because he is paying attention. Most men overlook this language and rely only on conversation. But those who develop emotional presence and awareness gain access to a deeper level of connection. They respond rather than react. They feel rather than force. Now, consider this. If her hug lingers, her hands stay close, and she meets your eyes afterward, what do you think she is really telling you? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this insight helped you see relationships more clearly, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to understand the unspoken language of connection.